This is a Panerai. Looks like a fairly ordinary watch, doesn't it? There's your typical hour hand, minutes and seconds, as you'd expect. It has a chronograph too, a neat feature for timing things with. But there's a third button, one that makes the watch go backwards. Why? So we can keep on making great watch videos, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed to the channel. If you already are, it really does help. Thank you. To understand why Panerai has built this PAM 00652 to do the opposite of what it seems it should, first we need to understand what the 4 letters on the bottom half of the dial mean. PCYC. That's Panerai Classic Yachts Challenge. Since people don't really wear Panerais to ride incredibly dangerous and difficult to maneuver manned torpedoes into enemy marinas anymore, the brand has found a new home at the Regatta instead. That's the other word on the bottom of the dial. If Regatta sounds like a type of pasta to you, you've at least got the language right. Originating from a 17th century Venetian dialect, it literally translates as contention for mastery. And what better way is there to compete for greatness in the watery city of Venice than with a boat race? Side note, none of this has anything to do with the Cockney rhyming slang for face, just so you know. As far back as history goes, humans have been racing each other as a demonstration of superiority and ability. I suppose a professor type would tell you that it evolved from the competition to run away from a big, hungry predator faster than the other guy. But all I know is that as long as records have been kept, people have been trying to go faster than each other. In fact, there are records of what that same professor would probably refer to as terrestrial locomotion races, that's running to you and me, as far back as 1000 BC. Nowadays, if you can sit in it, on it, or even near it, and you can make it go quickly, people will race it. Cars, planes, drones, you name it. There's lawnmower racing, cheese racing, tin bath racing, snail racing, and of course horse racing. That is, people racing on foot against other people who are on horses. Oh yes, and of course people race boats too. Boat racing has long been seen as the archetypal challenge of the upper class, alongside jousting and shooting each other from 10 paces away. The latter two are less common these days, but when you think of the boat race, you think of the boat race. That's capitalised, in case you couldn't tell. Held on the River Thames, London, since 1829, the boat race is one of the oldest examples of nautical competition. The clever boys and girls at Oxford and Cambridge universities thrashing oars and chopping waves to propel their aquatic vehicles to the finish line first. And these things are taken very seriously indeed. In the 1877 boat race, Judge John Phelps declared that, due to neck-and-neck positioning and bad weather, the result was a dead heat. What followed was rumour laced with conspiracy, including that Phelps was actually over 70 and blind in one eye, and that he had spent the entire race drunk in a bush. Nevertheless, boat races have always carried high stakes and high prestige. The first recorded were in the 17th century, including that time King Charles II decided to take out 2 of his royal yachts in a sprint from Greenwich to Gravesend and back again on a 100-to-1 wager, which he lost. I'm sure he could afford it. Perhaps the most famous regatta, however, is the America's Cup, the first taking place around the Isle of Wight in 1851. New Yorker Commodore John Cox Stevens, who'd piloted his 101-foot schooner, christened America, into first place, utterly destroyed the competition with a lead of over 8 minutes, and so the America's Cup was born. Such is the pride and rivalry amongst sailors that, when spectator Queen Victoria asked who'd come second, she was promptly told, "Your Majesty, there is no second." But why does that mean that this watch goes backwards? The boats raced today are much different to the ones raced hundreds of years ago. An America's Cup yacht these days is a high-tech, carbon fibre catamaran costing £10 million and capable of sailing 4 times faster than the wind. They're designed by aerospace engineers. I'm not kidding, the 2010 BMW Oracle racing boat was penned by the same guy who brought the Virgin Galactic spacecraft to life, Burt Rutan, to speed through the water at over 50 miles an hour, and when piloted correctly, to not even touch the water at all. These alien vehicles may seem to share no likeness with the yachts of our history, but whether carbon fibre or classic, they still operate at their core in the same fundamental way. They require wind to power them, same as they always have, and that means races must commence with a rolling start, making it crucial to the outcome. The first boat past the start line is typically the one to win. It's not all neat and tidy like a car race. A sailboat is constantly on the move, and so mastering the art of getting it across the start line at the right moment, at full speed, is a rather complicated one. Enter the Panerai Luminor 1950 PCYC Regatta 3 days Chrono Flyback Automatic Titanio PAM 00652. To aid the start, the official sounds several alarms before the start itself, including a 10 and 5-minute warning. If you know your speed and you know your distance, and you also know when the race is going to start, you can time your run perfectly. With a normal chronograph, you'd hit the start pusher and off you go. But in a regatta, you want to time the 10 minutes leading up to the start, as well as the actual time it takes to complete the race, which poses a problem. Not for this particular Panerai, however, because with the in-house caliber P9100R and that additional pusher, you can send the chronograph minutes hand into the past. A handy indicator has been laid out all the way to 15 minutes back. That's a 5-minute countdown to the 10-minute warning, then the 5-minute warning, and then the start, with luminous markers included for those all-important last 5 minutes. Then, with a perfectly executed start under your belt, the watch will continue to time the run from 0. Being a seafaring watch, the 652 also gets a nautical tachymeter to calculate speed. Time a nautical mile travelled, and you can measure how fast you're moving in knots, as well as 100 meters of water resistance. There's also a flyback mechanism for the chronograph chucked in for good measure, as well as a quick adjust for the hour hand. Hey, if you're racing a yacht, you're probably travelling a lot, and Panerai has got your back on that one. The 47mm case of the 652 is substantial in both height and width, and so given the hectic, fast-moving environment of a sailboat at full tilt, it's been wrought from titanium to help ease up on the weight a little bit. It's no featherweight, but it's a fair chunk lighter than it would have been in steel. On the deck of a lightweight carbon fibre racing yacht, I expect that would be appreciated. It's a watch that's evolved from a sport hundreds of years old, from King Charles II showing off with his royal yachts, to the latest and greatest machines carving up the ocean. Despite modern forms of propulsion, to harness the natural power of the Earth, to move us at speed, continues to be a thrilling, daunting task, one that connects us with a more visceral, adrenaline-pumping existence. Or, at the very least, the 652 will help you boil a damn good egg. From the first Olympic Games to the Red Bull Air Race, the pursuit of a challenge is one that advances humanity from era to era, innovation to innovation. But racing is not always about looking forwards. As the Panerai Luminor 1950 PCYC Regatta demonstrates, competition flows through the veins in all forms, if only to feel truly alive. Discover more exceptional watches at Watchfinder. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please do consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. If there are any watches you'd like to see featured, please let us know in the comments below.